Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today I'm returning to my Let's Play of Rule the Waves, a turn-based naval game, which puts you as a Grand Admiral in control of one of the great powers during the arms races between 1900 and 1925. In our last video, we saw the first part of a live stream that I did on February 14th in the early morning hours. It was about an hour and a half long live stream, and I cut it into 3 parts. So this is part 2. In the first part, we continued the war against America. The war started off well enough when we defeated an American cruiser force at Manila, sank 2 heavy cruisers, 1 minesweeper, and 6 transport ships, all for the loss of just 1 destroyer of our own. It was a major victory to kick off the war. But in the second video, actually the first of the live stream, the Americans got their revenge. In a major fleet action, more than 6 dreadnought or battlecruiser class ships on each side engaged, as well as some 7 American pre-dreadnought ships and 2 of our own, engaged in a fleet action just west of Korea, and the Americans got the upper hand. We did manage to sink an American battleship and an American battle cruiser, but the Americans sank 2 battleships of our own, as well as sinking a pre-dreadnought battleship. So in terms of total tonnage sunk, they did win the day. Our fleet was also more badly battered. Our battle cruisers sailed away like cowards because I was an idiot and managed my fleet like an absolute novice. I sailed my battleships straight into the enemy formation without adequate cover and ended up getting my battleships torpedoed. It was fortunate that our own destroyers were able to torpedo the American battleships that were able to sink, so it was not a complete disaster, but we can certainly not afford a 1-to-1 ratio exchange with the American fleet. Will be ground into dust. But as I said, this was actually part 1 of a live stream that I did on Twitch, and I broke the hour and a half live stream into 3 parts. This is just the intro. I'm going to go ahead and jump right back into the stream midstream, so we're mid-conversation, and we'll pick up the fight from there after that decisive defeat in the Sea of Japan. So, on the positive side, it gives us a pretty darn good balance. On the negative side, we went from 3 battleships in service to 1. America has 8 against us. The battle cruiser side of things, 6-4. Heavy cruisers, light cruisers, battleships. So yeah, the war right now is about a draw, but the major defeat also has left us blockaded. You can see here it says we're blockaded. If we had won that battle, I believe we would be not blockaded. But yeah, that'll have some negative impacts as far as unrest level, and my prestige is key to keeping me keep my job. So I can build a new battleship class. The problem is they take 3 years. We actually have the Meiji class here, which is a much larger battleship, 12 15-inch guns. If you compare that to the Gamer class, which has 8 14-inch guns, it's a substantial upgrade. It's also 7,000 tons heavier, has a better armor layout as well. But that was my fault. I charged my battleships into the midst of destroyers and got my ass chewed up. So a pretty negative experience there. I could lay down another Meiji that would eat up all the available funds. You can see we have a healthier monthly balance now that we lost all those ships. But I think the war will be over before we have any ability to field any of those new ships that would be under construction. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and design a armed merchant ship class. So we'll just do that. We'll auto design it. And the idea with that is it'll be a commerce raider that we can just send out to ravage American trade. I'm not sure how long it'll take to build, but we can go ahead and call it the Asama Maru class, and we'll just go ahead and save it. And we'll see here, 5,000 tons. Takes 4 months to build, so basically it's converting a merchant ship. So not very long to build. Monthly build cost is over $1 million. But only takes 4 months. So I think we'll build 8 of them. Well, no, that'll bankrupt us. We'll build 4. And then once those are done, maybe we can build a few more. So we're converting some armed merchant ships to merchant raiders. And maybe we'll throw a Meiji class down when those are done. We've also got some subs that should be completed here soon. These guys will be done next month, so it'll help in our sub war against the U.S. So let's go ahead and advance a turn. We've commissioned those submarines here into the fleet. And the Fuso was also commissioned into the fleet. The Army wants more resources to prepare an offensive that will shift the strategic initiative. The Prime Minister's asking your opinion. So I would say we're going to let the Army try and do its thing. It'll lower our income for a short period of time, I believe, but it gives us the chance of a big VP gain if the Army does successfully win a battle. I'm thinking, maybe like they're fighting in Korea or something to that effect. And given we just lost a big naval battle, we need those VPs. So I'll go ahead and do that. Japanese subs sink 24 ships for 120 VPs. We lose one sub. And because of that submarine activity, food is becoming scarce in the U.S. Now, this is a little bit unrealistic. This is a limitation of the game. It doesn't recognize the fact that the U.S. is vastly food sufficient. So maybe there are other resources or trade that Americans are upset that insurance prices are going up or something like that. I mean, the U.S. would be largely immune to submarine warfare, but it doesn't really differentiate between nations in this game as far as their trade. So in that sense, I imagine we're ravaging American trade in China, which was substantial in this time period, but America certainly wouldn't be starving. So the U.S. sinks one sub, 5 VP, but we sank 2 subs. So our coastal force is doing very well against the American subs. Additionally, you can see the Kasagi-class light cruiser sank a merchantman for 5 VPs. And trade disruptions from raider and submarine sinkings are causing hardships. Again, the food shortage thing, not so much. You can see here it looks like there is now a cruiser action that is going to be fought south of Korea. We could engage in this battle and try and redeem ourselves. It's a much smaller engagement. It's listed as a cruiser action. So we'll go ahead and we'll accept that fight. And then we'll change the camera angle over here. We'll see what we have to fight with. So it looks like we've got 1 light cruiser and 4 destroyers. The light cruisers, obviously, or 2 light cruisers. The cruisers, obviously, our flagship. If we take a look at our OOB, we take a look at our cruisers. They are of the Izumi class, so these are the 7,700-ton behemoths we won that first battle with, I think. 10 6-inch guns, which for a light cruiser, to me, seems like a pretty solid armament in 1918. Additionally, we have 4 destroyers of the Taziki class, 900 tons, 4 torpedo tubes above water, and some 4-inch guns as the main armament. So again, a second battle. And also just sort of a heads up, they may not have 7 battleships in this fight. So the scouting report before is basically just saying this is what the enemy has in theater. This is theoretically what could be engaged, but there's an element of fog of war there. So just because it says what you may have or what they may have doesn't mean that's what they really have. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll get the fight started, presumably moving forward. Okay, we can see an enemy unknown ship. So we're going to turn our cruisers, and this may be a better battle for me to fight because, again, I can kind of control it. So we'll go ahead with just the limited size. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn toward these enemy ships. Oh. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not, but it looks like they're claiming their dreadnoughts and cruisers. So a Chicago-class light cruiser, so it's not a battleship. So maybe, we'll see here. They're both Chicago-class light cruisers. Okay. So I think I feel a little bit better of trying to take on light cruisers than I would a battleship. So we're going to get our destroyers and try and get them ahead of the enemy. Meanwhile, our light cruisers will stay kind of toward the rear here. And actually, we're going to need to crank up the speed on those destroyers as well. Okay, so we're going to bring these guys south now. Obviously, they switch direction. Doesn't look like anyone's hit yet. So the Chicago has medium guns, 6 medium guns. So we definitely outgunned them in terms of total number of guns. You can see here these little white marks represent shell splashes. Again, I'm not doing a great job of fighting this action. So the Chicagos are trying to flee, it looks like. So maybe we crank up this, turn on the speed and try and catch up to them, because I think we've got a chance in this fight to do some damage against them. Okay, so they're outrunning us at this point, but I don't think they can for long. We'll see. I imagine the destroyers are faster than them at the very least. Okay, so they're wasting some ammo. I don't think there's any hits yet. It's hard to say. We can check our hits actually if we go in here. So if we click on that, the status here, we can see it does suffer some damage, so it's taken one light hit. I'm wondering if the other ships are hit at all. Doesn't look like it. I'm imagining this asterisk means damage. Or maybe the flagship of the squadron. Yeah, it's the flagship of the squadron. Never mind, not necessarily damage. So it looks like we've taken minimal hits. I don't know if we've done any damage to the enemy yet. Alright, and now I'm actually going to turn this over to the AI, because I'm hoping that the AI will let them go independent, and then I'm hoping they'll launch some torpedoes against the these cruisers. Or they'll just turn back and probably support me, I guess. I guess I could have done that myself. So kind of a long-running gunfight with these guys. You can see the AI is turning to intercept. It looks. I really hope they launch some torpedoes. There you go. So there you go. A Chicago class hit by a torpedo. Looks like it may have even sunk. No, it's still there. Okay, so they launched some torpedoes. They did hit one. We did looks like we're losing a destroyer sinking. So the enemy light cruisers did some damage. Obviously, they sunk a destroyer. Another one looks to be dead in the water and running really slow. We did get one hit. I imagine it's on this Chicago because it's moving much more slowly. So again, my hope is to finish this guy off and maybe win a minor victory. One destroyer to a light cruiser. I think that advantage goes to us. Especially because we actually have more light cruisers than the Americans. I don't know if do my cruisers have... I'll need to check and see if my cruisers have torpedoes on them. Let's see. They do. So... I would like to launch a torpedo. I guess I'm not doing manual targeting. Not quite sure how. Oh, wait. Is this it? Make smoke. Hold torpedo fire. I guess they're already going to launch torpedoes at their own leisure. Anyway. Okay, so there we go. We finished that Chicago off. Looks like the other Chicago is up this way. Detach light cruiser Ubini to pick up survivors from destroyer. Yes. So we're picking up American survivors as well as Japanese. Now we just need to, I think, run the clock for a bit. See if we can try and catch up to the Americans way up here as we pick up survivors. We get some victory points for picking up survivors. It's also sort of a good thing to do, I guess. I don't know. So those intel reports are obviously way wrong. Those initial sightings were dramatically wrong. They just spotted a heavy cruiser and a battleship, and they ended up being 2 American light cruisers. Meanwhile, our own light cruiser is chasing the Chicago class. You can see that the class of light cruisers that we have is far better armed. It also seems to be a little bit faster than the American Chicago class as well. I guess I don't see the Americans anywhere, though. Okay, so the Americans ran away. Japanese won a major victory here. Obviously not as major as before, but we lost one destroyer sunk and one heavy damaged. They lost a light cruiser sunk. Another one looks to be undamaged. So we suffered a couple of destroyers damaged, a light damage on a light cruiser. We also got some points for picking up survivors. You can see here, though, that we won more points than they did. A lot of the points are based on tonnage, so I imagine their ship was 66,900 tons that we sunk. So we'll go ahead and we'll switch camera angles again. And again, I'm not doing the battles justice in the sense that they're much more detailed. You can do a lot more, but I'm probably not the best player to try and demonstrate everything you can do in the battles. You can see here we commissioned more subs. We won that battle. And now it looks like we need another ship on foreign station. Great. We need 3,000 more tons on foreign stations. What are we going to do about it? I suppose we can send... I don't even know what the foreign station thing really means. Alright, so we got that West Africa ship on foreign station. Okay. So you can see now we have an advantage in VP. Not a dramatic one, but an advantage nonetheless. Monthly balance is in the red, but that's just because those merchant ships were building. Yeah, Kushin, the game's actually built on Steam and Iron, so I don't know if you enjoy Steam and Iron or not, but the battle interface for this game is built on the Steam and Iron engine, and what's different is just sort of this in-between battle campaign menu. The actual battles, though, are literally Steam and Iron just kind of ported over, so it's a further adaptation of the Steam and Iron series. The Nina needs an engine overhaul. Japanese subs sink 24 ships, 120 VPs, one sub sunk. So the U.S. are getting upset. The U.S. did sink 3 ships this time, but we sunk 2 of their subs. And that's good. I'm disappointed that the prestige, we didn't get any prestige bump for our victory against that cruiser. You would think people would be a little bit happy about that. No fight that turn, by the way, either. Research breakthrough, 19 ships, 95 VP. It looks like the Americans' anti-submarine efforts may be picking up. They sank 4 of our subs. The Tokugawa sank a U.S. merchant ship. Okay, so we are still blockaded, which is not great. At war for 6 months. Let's see here. Is this the one that needs the engine overhaul? Status 1. I don't know what that means. I'm going to assume repairs happen automatically. Oh, we probably have to move them back into the Northeast Asia, I would guess. Okay. Strikes and anti-war demonstrations are rumored to be taking place in the U.S. And we've commissioned some AMCs into the fleet. Meanwhile, we sank 21 more ships, 105 more VPs. We did lose a few subs. U.S. sank a couple of ships. And our raiders are also having some success. So it doesn't look like... Oh, it looks like they lifted the blockade as well. Their fleet is not... They pulled some of their fleet away from our northern Asia, maybe to defend against submarines and more anti-sub patrols. I'm not sure. But you can see here the blockaded tab went away. And we're starting to get a bigger advantage in terms of VP as well. Submarines, we've lost several. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've lost 2 of our newest medium-ranged subs. And we lost some other coastal subs as well. It'd be kind of neat if they kept track of tonnage sunk by different ships, but that might be a little bit asking a little bit more. So now we've got the AMCs, which obviously we're going to send our AMCs out on commerce rating. That's a given. So those guys are out on rating. The latest... Oh, yes. So the latest army offensive has been a complete success, breaking through the front in places. Gained 1,500 VP. There you go. Meanwhile, another 95 VP from the submarine war. and a cruiser action, it looks like, that would take place north of Japan. I'm thinking we'll decline this cruiser action. It will hurt us with 30 VP, but I don't want to risk... with that major army offensive, I really don't want to risk a major defeat. I'll just see what happens. We'll kind of decline that. And another cruiser action taking place near the Philippine Sea. It looks like the Americans have a battle cruiser and 2 light cruisers in the area. We have 2 light cruisers and 4 destroyers. I don't want to give them 60 VP by declining 2 battles, but I'm going to do it. So we're blockaded again, and again, I assume that's because we declined those battles, which is not good. Blockades have an impact on unrest over time, so they make you more likely to lose. But it looks like the U.S. has collapsed in a revolution. I don't think that's likely, but again, it's simulating more or less the European powers. So we'll just say that the anti-war party, maybe the Democrats, won the presidential election of, what year are we in, 1918? Was there an election in 1918? I think there was. Or was it? No, 1916 was it, so there wouldn't have been. Let's just say the Democrats won the Congress and demanded an end of the war. So we won the war, and it looks like we can actually pick... Ooh, this is neat. We can pick some warships as reparations, I suppose. So we're going to go ahead and pick... Do we want to pick the battle cruisers or the battleships? We're going to pick the Arizona class, the Oklahoma. It looks like their newest battleship class. And then we can pick... So we can pick 1 ship, and then we can pick 10 VPs worth of territories. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the Philippines, and we're going to take North Korea. You can see the value has to equal 10. There's some other places we could take. Obviously, we're not going to take Maine. Panama would be nice, but that's way far away from Japan and hard to defend. Puerto Rico, it's the wrong ocean. Hawaii would be nice, but again, I'd rather get North Korea because that's adjacent to South Korea, and the Philippines is much closer to Japan, so more easy to defend. I'd like Guam as well. That would be really nice, but it's higher than our permitted values. So we're just going to go with the Philippines and North Korea. The naval budget is considerably reduced, and the 4 AMCs have been sold off to civilian shipping companies because, again, they're commerce raiders. You don't use those during times of peace. You can see here that Germany is rumored to have stopped construction on battleships, and Great Britain has laid down destroyers. U.S. strikes and labor have delayed the construction of the Essex-class battle cruiser. So we actually got a free battleship out of that war, although we did lose 2 sunk. And we also sank an American battleship and an American battle cruiser. So the U.S. really lost 3 capital ships. We lost 2 of the heavy ships, that is. Yeah. So their naval budget's constrained, so is ours. But the addition, perhaps, of the Philippines and North Korea will give us a bigger budget because the value of your colonies does play into what your actual budget is, I believe, as well. So the addition of the Philippines... immediately, I believe the Philippines becomes our most valuable colony. Let's see here. Formosa, value of 5. So it's equal to Formosa, basically. It's also equal to, a little bit less equal or valuable than South Korea. But it's more equal than Angola, which we took. And Angola actually has oil, which is why we can design that oil-fired Medjay-class battleship. At this point, I think what we need to do is we need to... I need to know what I need to do with our fleet. First of all, we're going to take these Mikasa-class battleships, and we're going to scrap them all, because it's quite clear an 18-knot battleship that only has 9-inch guns is not worth anything at all in a fleet action. So we're going to scrap the 4 Mikasa-class battleships. They're over 14 years old. So we'll go ahead and do that. Scrap. Yes. 4 ships scrapped. We get $2 million for it. Balances our budget as well. And then we're going to lay down, and you can see here we got the Arizona. Let's see what the Arizona is. The Arizona has, holy crap, 10 15-inch guns. Wow, that's a really nice ship. Makes 20 knots. It's a little bit slower than our main battle fleet, so that's not nice. But we did get the Nagato, the Arizona class. All right, and there you have it. So we won a victory against the United States. We got some spoils of war. We got a free battleship. We also got a couple of important colonies. And that is going to do it for part 2 of this look at our live stream of February 14th. Like I said, this was a live stream. It was an hour and a half. I broke it into 3 parts. This was part 2. The final part will be in a separate video. But again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stay tuned for the next part of this live stream. This is like part 20 or 21 or 22 or something like that of the actual Let's Play. But part 2 of this live stream that took place in the early morning hours in February. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching. I'm out.